Most people in life don't actually think, they copy. They do things the way they've always been done because that's what they've seen work. First principles reasoning is what happens when you shift that mindset entirely. So, before I explain what first principles reasoning is, I want to discuss reasoning by analogy, which is the default mode that most people live in. Essentially, you look at how something was done, you copy it or modify it slightly, and you move forward with that framework. To be fair, it is efficient because the framework has already been built. It's lower risk because it probably has worked in the past. That's why, people copy it and use it all the time, but it rarely produces anything original. When you reason by analogy, you're building on somebody else's assumptions, and those assumptions are not always correct. And to my point about it being low risk, those assumptions may have been correct at one point, but it doesn't mean they're going to be correct for you. For example, they may have been made in a different context than what you're in, a context that no longer exists. These things may have never existed at all, and they were just passed down until they almost became a fact as a result of everybody believing them, which is a scarier thing. I guess the stereotypical path and a lot of career paths are built this way, right? People say, oh, this is, what people in my major do. This is what people with my degree do. This is what people my age are supposed to do, depending on where you're at in life. So, it's conventional, and I suppose that creates a blanket of safety for a lot of people, depending on where they're at in life. So, in my opinion, you're really building on the precedent of somebody else's opinion that was never really challenged or proven to be incorrect. And that's not to say that these precedents aren't wrong. They're precedents for a reason, but it'd be valuable for you to question and challenge them before you commit to them, especially if they're not things of your own thinking and creation. So what is first principles reasoning to that point? First principles reasoning, instead of asking, how has this been done? You ask yourself, what do I know is absolutely true? Not what you've been told, not what seems obvious, not what everybody else has done. What is actually fundamentally true, and what can you build from there, from ground zero? Say what you will about somebody like Elon Musk, but there was this quote or something about, the way his mind operates and his framework. He says if it hasn't defied the laws of physics, it should be possible. So I think that's a valuable mindset to adopt. It's like question everything, not what has been done in the past, but what can be done in the future and how can it be done? What is actually true underneath all the preconceived assumptions that society has created over the course of humanity? So you don't have to be an Elon Musk and build spaceships and electric cars and batteries to apply this to your life and make your life better. What you need to do is start asking yourself different questions. So for example, in your career, don't ask yourself what jobs exist in my field. Ask yourself, what do I want my day to day to look like? What problems do I want to solve that I'm genuinely interested in solving? And almost work backwards. The answers to those questions help you figure out how you're going to get to where you want to get to. So start with the end goal in mind and reverse engineer. So, most of the constraints that we've accepted and adopted throughout our life have never been truly tested by ourselves, right? The right timing, the right credentials, the right path to take, these are almost conventions that are masked as requirements. So this kind of thinking is uncomfortable by design, and it's not an easy thing to put into practice because when you strip away that convention, you're also sort of stripping away your safety net. You can't look back and say, okay, this is how it was done, so I need to do it this way. No, you're doing something completely from scratch. There is no precedent, there is no guideline to do what you want to do. You can't say, oh, this is how it was done, so I'll do it that way. When you're building something from the ground up, there's no guarantee that the structure you're building is going to hold. And in all honesty, that discomfort and that uncertainty is a sign that you're doing it correctly. Reasoning by analogy is comfortable because somebody already validated the path. First principles reasoning, on the other hand, is uncomfortable because you're the first person walking that particular version of your path. And so the people who adopt the latter mindset embrace that discomfort and almost treat it like the price of admission, the price for the freedom that they're looking for in life. So the people who operate from first principles reasoning do not have more information than other people, are not smarter than other people. They had the willingness to question and challenge things that most people had already accepted. So don't accept the world as it is. Ask why it is the way it is. Then ask whether it has to be this way. And that's where most of the original ideas in history are born.